Good morning, everyone.
Good
Good morning,
morning, sir.
sir.
Very good
Morning,
morning.
sir. Morning, sir.
Morning. So let us continue with what we had been discussing. We were at the first module. We have already discussed the different things in the first module. First, we had a core text, just to remind you that we had what we discussed so far. First, we had a core text where we discussed the speech by Savan Suzuki. Then we had some vocabulary, that is learning new words. Uh, that is what we had after the speech. Then we learned to use language in the section. I know I use language. Okay, where we learned the different types of words, okay, parts of speech, for example. So we discussed the three major parts of speech where we had naming words, then reference words and descriptive words. Okay, so these are the things that we discussed, and now we move on to writing skills. So we already have discussed that there are four major language skills. So it is shortly referred to as LSRW. Can anyone tell me what is LSRW? What is the full form of LSRW? So these are the four language skills.
Listening, learning, speaking, reading, writing.
Listening,
Exactly. Yes, Aditya.
reading,
Yeah.
writing.
Yes, Danya. Yes, Danya. So we have listening. L is for listening. S is for speaking. R is for reading, and W is for writing. Yes, Ashwati, that is right. So we have these four language skills. All four of them are important. So we will be taking up a writing in this section. So in every module, you will have exercises based on all these four skills. So this is the last part of the first module. So we have writing skills here also. So writing is something very important. Why is writing important? Because it is through writing that we convey information even in our examination. When you write your examination, the examiner is not able to see you. The person who evaluates your answer sheet is not able to see us. So they will be assessing us, they will be measuring us by what we have written. So writing becomes very important because everything that you write will be actually a reflection of your knowledge and personality. So if you have very good writing skills, there is a chance that you get better marks or higher marks in the examination. So that is why writing skills become very important. So here in this uh, part of this module, the final chapter as it were, we have some activities where we focus on writing skills. The first activity is actually an activity of a passage reading, reading a passage, where you have to a passage with many kinds of errors. Okay, many kinds of errors. So we will have to find out those errors. So what are the kind of errors that we can make while writing? What are the common errors that we make while writing? നമ്മൾ എഴുതുമ്പോൾ സാധാരണ വരാറുള്ള മിസ്റ്റേക്ക് എന്തൊക്കെയാണ്? ഒരുപാട് എറേഴ്സ് വരാറുണ്ട്, മിസ്റ്റേക്സ് വരാറുണ്ട് നമ്മൾ എഴുതുമ്പോൾ. എന്തൊക്കെയാണ് അത് വളരെ കോമൺ ആയിട്ട് വരുന്നത്?
Grammar,
എക്സാക്ട്ലി,
spelling,
യെസ്.
Spelling mistake.
Spelling, yes. Yes, Anjana, yes. Bini. So we have uh, very good. So many people have responded. So we have grammar errors, we have spelling errors. Anything else? വേറെ എന്തെങ്കിലും എറേഴ്സ് വരാറുണ്ടോ?
Capital എഴുതണ്ടേ starting.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Capitalization error. Yes, Swati, that is right. Capitalization errors. Then there is, we have to put certain things. Okay. So what are they called? I'll type it here. You will be able to tell me. What are these things called? Kuttu comma, inverted comma, exclamation, question mark, they are called. They are called punctuation. Okay, so these are the some of the kinds of errors. So capitalization also comes under punctuation. So we have major errors like grammar, spelling, capitalization, punctuation, etc. So these are the errors that we commonly make when we are using language. So let us now look at this passage. So can you, when I read this passage, you have to tell me what are the errors that are there in this passage. So I will read this passage. First of all, I will make it a bit bigger. Okay. Yes. Sometimes it gets really baffling when I have to decide whether to capitalize a letter I know. Okay, capitalize a letter. So sometimes it gets really baffling. Sometimes it gets really baffling when I have to decide.
S capital.
Yes, Danya. You have to capitalize yes. So why should we capitalize yes? Because any word that begins a sentence, when you begin a sentence, that's the rule in English. മലയാളത്തിൽ അങ്ങനെ capitalization ഒന്നുമില്ല. It is something which we have only in English. So uh, when you begin a sentence, the beginning letter of the beginning word has to be in capital letters. Okay, what is the next error that is there? Sometimes it gets really baffling when I have to decide whether to capitalize a letter. What is the next error?
Letter എന്നുള്ള വേർഡ് കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് full stop വേണ്ടേ?
Exactly. Yes, Danya. So that is the end of a sentence. Yes, Aishwarya.
അത് കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് ഐ ക്യാപിറ്റൽ എഴുതണ്ടേ?
അത് വേണം. അതിന് മുമ്പും ഒരു ഐ ഉണ്ട്, അത് ക്യാപിറ്റലൈസ് ചെയ്യണം. ഇറ്റ് ഗെറ്റ്സ് റിയലി ബാഫ്ലിംഗ് വെൻ ഐ എന്ന് പറയുന്ന അവിടെ ഒരു ഐ ഇല്ലേ, അതും ക്യാപിറ്റലൈസ് ചെയ്യണം. Okay, so there are a couple of errors, 3 errors there. Sometimes S capitalize ചെയ്യണം, then I has to be capitalized. then there should be a full stop after capitalize a letter. There is a difficult word here. Can we make it simple?
Confusing.
Confusing nakam. So you can make it a simple word. So you can make it into a simple word. It is confusing. So that is the method of making language simple. Okay. So there are three elements which we always talk of. Uh, so this is a major element that we need in language. One second, please wait. So there are three elements: simplicity, brevity, and clarity. So these are the three elements that we require: simplicity, brevity, and clarity. That is when we write anything, even for the examination, these three elements should be there. Simplicity is the state of being simple. ലളിതമായ ഭാഷ ഉപയോഗിക്കുക. So instead of using baffling, I can use confusing. If I can use confusing, then use confusing. So do not use difficult words unnecessarily. So that is also a major rule in language use. If it should be as simple as possible. Simplicity. Brevity is the state of being brief. Okay, the state of being brief. വലിച്ചു നീട്ടി പറയാതെ ചുരുക്കി പറയുക. That is brevity. Okay, simplicity, brevity, and clarity. What is clarity? Clarity എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ എന്താണ്?
വ്യക്തത.
വ്യക്തത. Yes, Danya, that is right. വ്യക്തത. Clarity is the state of being clear. The state of being clear is called clarity. So we have these three major elements that are required in language use. That is simplicity, brevity, and clarity. And baffling is a difficult word. Baffling is a complex word which should not be used if we want to make the sentence very clear. Okay, so that is the first sentence. Let us look at the second sentence. I know I don't always have to capitalize the word doctor. So as Aishwarya has already pointed out, I has to be capitalized. Iയുടെ ഒരു പ്രത്യേകത എന്താണെന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ beginning of the sentence ആണെങ്കിലും even if it is in the middle of the sentence, it is always capitalized. Doesn't matter whether it appears at the beginning of the sentence or in the middle of the sentence or even at the end of the sentence, it has always to be capitalized. So I is a word which is always capitalized in a sentence. So I know both I's have to be capitalized. I know I don't always have to capitalize the word doctor. Is there anything that we have to do there?
ഡോക്ടറുടെ ഡി ക്യാപിറ്റൽ ആവണ്ടേ?
ഡോക്ടറുടെ ഡി ഈ ഡോക്ടറുടെ ഡി ക്യാപിറ്റൽ ആവേണ്ട ആവശ്യമില്ല. കാരണം ഇയാൾ ആ ഡോക്ടർ എന്നുള്ള വാക്കിനെ കുറിച്ചാണ് പറയുന്നത്. പക്ഷെ അവിടെ ഒരു ആ വാക്കിനെ സൂചിപ്പിക്കാനായിട്ട് അവിടെ ഒരു ഇൻവേർട്ടഡ് കോമ ഇടണം. അയാൾ ആ വാക്കിനെ കുറിച്ച് പറയുകയാണെന്നുള്ളത് സൂചിപ്പിക്കാനായിട്ട് രണ്ട് സൈഡിലും either you can use single inverted commas. For example, this is അയാൾ പറയണതാണ് എപ്പോഴും ഡോക്ടർ ക്യാപിറ്റലൈസ് ചെയ്യേണ്ട എന്ന് എനിക്കറിയാം എന്നാണ് അയാൾ പറയണത്. അപ്പോൾ ആ ഡോക്ടർ എന്ന് പറയുന്ന വാക്കിനെ കുറിച്ചാണ് അയാൾ പറയണതെന്ന് പറയാനായിട്ട് so we can either put it as single inverted commas, within single inverted commas, or within double inverted commas. Okay, so this is how that word should be written. Then there is a full stop, the end of the sentence. Okay, the next sentence is, do I have to capitalize Dr. Johnson? What are the errors?
Do
It was
and
D,
D
Dr.
capital.
Capital.
അതെ, ഡൂവിന്റെ ഡി ക്യാപിറ്റൽ ആവണം. യെസ് ആദിത്യ, ഐശ്വര്യ, that is right. The D
Dr.
in do,
Dr. Johnson D.
ഡോക്ടർ ജോൺസന്റെ ഡി ക്യാപിറ്റൽ ആവണം. ഡോക്ടർ ജോൺസന്റെ ഡി ആറിന് ശേഷം എന്തെങ്കിലും വേണോ? ഡി ആറിന് ശേഷം എന്തെങ്കിലും വേണോ?
Full stop.
Full stop.
Yes, there should be a dot after, a full stop after dr to indicate. What does it indicate? The dr after the dot after the full stop after dr indicates that it is the short form of, doctor. dr-ന് ശേഷമുള്ള full stop ഇൻഡിക്കേറ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്നത് അതൊരു ഷോർട്ട് ഫോം ആണെന്നാണ്. Okay, Dr. Johnson. Do in the D capitalize ചെയ്യണം. I again has to be capitalized. So do I have to capitalize Dr. Johnson? വീണ്ടും ഡോക്ടർ ജോൺസൺ എന്ന ടേമിനെ കുറിച്ചാണ് പറയണത്. So the Dr. Johnson has to be put within inverted commas. Okay, do I have to capitalize Dr. Johnson? So this is how it has to be written again. Do I have to capitalize Dr. Johnson? എന്നിട്ട് ഡോക്ടർ ജോൺസൺ കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് ഫുൾ സ്റ്റോപ്പ് ആണോ വേറെ എന്തെങ്കിലും ആണോ വേണ്ടത്? I have not completed the rest in the sentence. Do I have to capitalize Dr. Johnson എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് എന്താണ്? Is it a plain statement? Is it a plain statement? Do I have to capitalize Dr. Johnson? Is it a plain statement? Plain statement ആണ്. Do I എന്ന് ചോദിച്ചാൽ എന്താ?
Question അല്ലേ ഇത്?
It is a question. It is a question. So you cannot full stop at the end. So what should you put at the end?
Question mark.
There should be a question mark after Dr. Johnson. So do I have to capitalize Dr. Johnson? At the end of that, it should not be a full stop. So full stop is something that we use only for plain statements or affirmative sentences. So plain statements are also called affirmative sentences. Affirmative sentences. So this is not an affirmative sentence. Questions they are called interrogative sentences. So interrogative sentences end with question marks. So they are not affirmative sentences. Questions are called interrogative sentences, and interrogative sentences always end with a question mark. So we have to put a question mark after Dr. Johnson. There is also the question of comma, question mark, exclamation mark, or just a full stop at the end of each sentence. What are the errors in it? There is also
T capital.
yes, Danya. The T of there should be in capital letters. There is also the question of comma, question mark, exclamation mark. Question of comma, question mark, exclamation mark.
അവിടെ കോമ ഇടണം. കോമ കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് കോമ, ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് കോമ.
Exactly, Hana, that is right. We need a comma after comma. So comma, 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 പിന്നെ symbol comma, 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 question mark, comma, exclamation mark, again comma, or just a full stop at the end of each sentence. അവിടെ എന്തെങ്കിലും കുഴപ്പമുണ്ടോ? Each sentence. Is there any problem there?
Sentence in spelling that.
There is a spelling error, yes, Ashwati, that is right. There is a spelling error there. I think this is the only spelling error in this passage. So the spelling errors also should be avoided. So it should be rewritten as, so there is an additional C in the sentence, the word sentence. So we can correct that error also. Okay, there is also the issue of simplicity. Okay, so there is no error in that sentence. There is also the issue of simplicity. Can I state a sentence in such a way that no one comprehends anything? Can I state a sentence in such a way that no one comprehends anything? Any error in this? Any mistake in this? Can I state? Can I? What is can I? What is can I? What is the meaning of can I? Is it a plain statement?
അപ്പോ ലാസ്റ്റ് ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ മാർക്കാണ്.
Yes, Danya. At the end of this sentence, there should be a question mark, not a full stop, because can I indicates that it is a question. So we have a question mark at the end of the sentence. And there is one difficult word there. What is the meaning of comprehend? Comprehend. The meaning of comprehend. You can guess the meaning from the sentence. എന്തായിരിക്കാം അതിൻ്റെ അർത്ഥം? So can I state a sentence in such a way that no one comprehends anything? അവിടെ കോംപ്രിഹെൻഡിന്റെ അർത്ഥം എന്തായിരിക്കാം?
അണ്ടർസ്റ്റാൻഡ് ആണ്.
Exactly. അതെ, യെസ്, അതുല്യ ആൻഡ് അർച്ചന. അണ്ടർസ്റ്റാൻഡ് തന്നെയാണ് അതിൻ്റെ അർത്ഥം. സോ ഐ വിൽ ഹാവ് ടു റീറൈറ്റ് ഇറ്റ് ആസ് അണ്ടർസ്റ്റാൻഡ്സ്. So can I state a sentence in such a way that no one comprehends anything, no one understands anything? And then a question mark. So we have to make it clear, clarity, brevity, and simplicity. So we are looking at these things: clarity, brevity, and simplicity. So here the problem is with simplicity. We have used a complex word called comprehends. We make it into a simple. Yes, manslakuka, understand. Yes, Fatima. So that is the problem with the sentence. And the last sentence is, the only thing I am sure now is that it will be a lot easier. It will be a lot easier if I pay more attention to my English class. The only thing I am sure now is that it will be a lot easier if I pay more attention to my English class. How should that sentence end?
ഫുൾ സ്റ്റോപ്പ് വേണം ഇംഗ്ലീഷ് ക്ലാസ് കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട്.
Yes. So every sentence should, yes, Hannah, every sentence should end with a full stop. If it is a plain sentence, if it is a plain statement, it should end with a full stop. Here there is no full stop. So you have to put a full stop, and that is the error that we have. Then, so now we have corrected the errors. We have removed the errors. We have made it error-free. But here, still we can do something to bring more clarity by adding some words in between. For example, I can connect these sentences together using certain words. Like when I begin the sentence, I can say, first of all, sometimes it gets really confusing. Okay, so I can begin like that. So then the next sentence I can begin like this. However, I know, I can begin like this. However, I know I don't always have to capitalize. Like that, I can add certain words. So what happens is, there is a flow of ideas. You can connect the idea in one sentence to the end of to the beginning of the next sentence. There will be a connection between the ideas. There will be a flow of ideas. So there will be more clarity in our presentation. And when I say the last sentence, you can say finally. The only thing I am sure now is that it will be a lot easier if I pay more attention to my English class. So, though these sentences are all written separately, when we use such connecting words or connectors as they are called, when we use such connectors, it becomes easier for the reader to understand the ideas. There is more clarity in the presentation of the ideas. So, that is the benefit of using such connectors, which are also called linkers or discourse markers. So, such usage of connectors and linkers or discourse markers, these three are terms for this one the same thing. They are the same thing. These are used so that there is a clarity in what we speak. So these are the points that we should take care when we write something. So this is about writing skills. So these are the errors that we corrected, that we had found in the passage. Most of the errors that we discovered were corrected. So we have begun each sentence. When we begin any sentence in the English language, every sentence has to begin with a capital letter. Whatever kind of word it may be, it should always begin with a capital letter. And when you write I and the names of people, places, etc., we have to capitalize the beginning letters of the names of people. Similarly, we always have to capitalize the word I. And there are some other places, other instances, other examples where we use capital letters. So where are the places? So let us see which are the places where we use capital letters. Some examples of usage of capital letters are given here. So we use capital letters before names of places, mountains, rivers, etc. Example, Ernakulam, the Alps, the Himalayas, when we write Mount Everest, etc. These terms, these words are capitalized because they are the names. Then days and months, for example, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, etc. They are all capitalized. All the first letters are capitalized. Similarly, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August. All the beginning letters of the names of months are also capitalized. And the names of nations and nationality word, for example, India, Indians, America, Americans. Okay, nations and nationality, those words are also capitalized. So these are the common use of capitalizations. There are also some other places where we use capitalization. So can you add some more instances where capitalization is used? ഇവിടെ ലിസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്തതല്ലാതെ ആൾക്കാരുടെ പേരിൻ്റെ കാര്യമൊക്കെ നമ്മൾ ഇതിൽ പറഞ്ഞു, നെയിംസ് ഓഫ് പ്ലേസസ് പറഞ്ഞു. ഇതിൽ പറയാത്തതല്ലാതെ വേറെ എവിടെയൊക്കെയാണ് നമ്മൾ ക്യാപിറ്റലൈസേഷൻ യൂസ് ചെയ്യുക എന്ന് ഓർമ്മയുണ്ടോ? നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ആലോചിച്ച് നോക്കി പറയാൻ പറ്റുമോ? There are also some other places. Can you tell me which are the other places where we use capitalization? വേറെ സ്ഥലങ്ങളിൽ യൂസ് ചെയ്യും. അപ്പോൾ അത് എവിടെയൊക്കെയാണെന്ന് ഏതെങ്കിലും എക്സാമ്പിൾസ് പറയാൻ പറ്റുമോ? എനിവൺ?
നമ്മളുടെ നെയിം എഴുതുമ്പോൾ ഫസ്റ്റ് ക്യാപിറ്റൽ എഴുതില്ലേ?
യെസ്, നെയിംസ് എഴുതുമ്പോൾ ക്യാപിറ്റൽ ലെറ്റേഴ്സ് യൂസ് ചെയ്യും. നെയിംസ് എഴുതുമ്പോൾ ക്യാപിറ്റൽ ലെറ്റേഴ്സ് യൂസ് ചെയ്യും. ദ നെയിംസ് ഓഫ് പീപ്പിൾ, ഓക്കെ, നെയിംസ് ഓഫ് പീപ്പിൾ എഴുതുമ്പോൾ ക്യാപിറ്റലൈസേഷൻ യൂസ് ചെയ്യും. അതല്ലാതെ വേറെ എവിടെയൊക്കെ യൂസ് ചെയ്യും? വേറെ എവിടെയൊക്കെ നമ്മൾ ക്യാപിറ്റൽ ലെറ്റേഴ്സ് കണ്ടിട്ടുണ്ട്? ഞാനൊരു എക്സാമ്പിൾ പറയാം. ഇങ്ങനെ എഴുതിയാലും ഇങ്ങനെ എഴുതിയാലും എന്തെങ്കിലും വ്യത്യാസമുണ്ടോ?
ആ
വ്യത്യാസം
ഫുൾ ക്യാപിറ്റൽ ലെറ്ററിൽ എഴുതുമ്പോ വലിയൊരു വേർഡിന്റെ ഷോർട്ട് ഫോമിൽ എഴുതുന്നതിനാണ് ഫുൾ ലെറ്റേഴ്സും ക്യാപിറ്റൽ ആക്കിയിട്ട് എഴുതുക.
Correct. Yes, Danya, that is called abbreviation or acronym. So when I write WHO in capital letters, it is a short form for, it is the short form for World Health Organization. So abbreviation, yes, Anaga, abbreviation is also a place where we use capital letters. So we use capital letters in abbreviation. So that is one place where we use capitalization. Then when you look at titles of books, chapters, etc., there will be capitalization. Sometimes the whole letters are capitalized, or there will be something called a title case. So the major words in the first letter capitalization. So that is also a place where we see capitalization. So capitalization is very commonly seen in many other places also. So these are some of the examples. So abbreviations are, there will be capitalization. Then titles of books or chapters, there also we use capitalization. Okay. Let us now move on. Okay, punctuation is a major area where most of our students have a lot of problems. Punctuation, to use the correct punctuation, is a skill that we have to develop. What is punctuation? Punctuation is the use of full stop, comma, question mark, etc. What is the purpose of using punctuation? The purpose of using punctuation is proper communication. അതായത് ഭംഗിക്ക് ഇടുന്നതല്ല. കോമ കുത്തും കോമയൊക്കെ നമ്മൾ പൊട്ട് കുത്തുന്ന പോലെ ഒന്നല്ല. സോ ഇറ്റ് ഹാസ് സം പേർപ്പസ്. It is not for beauty. It has got some purpose. It is to make communication easier, clear. So here it is clarity in communication, the state of being clear in communication, the clarity of communication. That is the purpose of using punctuation. Two commonly used punctuation marks are given below. So one is apostrophe. Apostrophe എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ നമ്മൾ മുകളിലിടുന്ന കോമ എന്നൊക്കെ ചിലർ പറയും. അത് പക്ഷേ കോമയല്ല, അതിൻ്റെ പേർപ്പസ് വേറെയാണ്. So it has two purposes. When you use apostrophe, it is called apostrophe. It has two major purposes. One purpose is to show contractions. ചുരുക്കി എഴുതുന്നതിന്. For example, when I write I am, I apostrophe am, it is short form for I am. And when I write I apostrophe, when I write I apostrophe D, it can mean I could or I would. Rendu avam, depending on the sentence, depending on the situation. So you can say I could, instead of writing that, if I write I dash I apostrophe D, it means I would. It can both mean a contraction of such usages. Another usage is here, won't. What is the meaning of won't? It means will not. Okay, it's the contraction of will not. So it is contraction, churukkuka, to show possession. That is another purpose of using apostrophe. For example, when I say Ria's book, Ria apostrophe book means that the book belongs to Ria. So that is the purpose of, that is the second purpose of using apostrophe. So using apostrophe has different meanings also when we use words with apostrophe and without apostrophe. For example, the word it's. What is the difference between it's, where there is apostrophe in one word, there is no apostrophe in the second word? In the box, what is the difference between it's and it's? Apostrophe ഉണ്ടെങ്കിൽ എന്താണ് വ്യത്യാസം? Apostrophe ഇല്ലെങ്കിൽ എന്താണ് വ്യത്യാസം? Apostrophe ഇല്ലാതെ എഴുതുമ്പോൾ ITS എന്ന് കണ്ടിന്യൂസ് ആയിട്ട് എഴുതിയാൽ ഇറ്റ് മീൻസ് അതിൻ്റെ എന്നാണ് അർത്ഥം. അതിൻ്റെ. For example, when I talk about the elephant, I can say that its tusks are sharp. It means the tusks of the elephant are sharp. So therefore, it is possession. It indicates possession. But when I write IT' it is actually a contraction of it is. It is എന്നുള്ളതിൻ്റെ contracted form ആണ് IT'. So I can write, when I write it is it's getting late, it means that it is getting late. It is getting late. So this is the difference between ITS with apostrophe and without apostrophe. So the importance of punctuation can be seen in that example given in the box. There are two sentences, the same sentences actually, one with only with a change in punctuation. Let's eat grandpa is a sentence that we have there. There is a very minor change in punctuation. And that change in punctuation actually changes the meaning of the sentence itself. Can you tell me what is the difference between these two sentences? ഈ രണ്ട് സെന്റൻസിൻ്റെയും വ്യത്യാസം എന്താണെന്ന് പറയാൻ പറ്റും? Can anyone tell me? Let's eat grandpa. Let's eat, പിന്നെ അവിടെ ഒരു കോമയുണ്ട്, അത് കഴിഞ്ഞ് ഗ്രാൻഡ്പ. അങ്ങനെ രണ്ട് സെൻറ്റൻസ് ഉണ്ട്. ആ കോമ മാത്രമാണ് ആ രണ്ട് സെൻറ്റൻസിലുള്ള ഡിഫറൻസ്. ബാക്കിയെല്ലാം സെയിം ആണ്. Is there any difference in meaning?
Sir,
Yes, പറയൂ.
ആദ്യത്തേതില് ഗ്രാൻഡ് പാനെ തിന്നാൻ അങ്ങനെയല്ല ഉദ്ദേശിക്കണേ.
അതാണ്.
പിന്നെ
Yes.
രണ്ടാമത് കോമിടുമ്പോ നമുക്ക് ഗ്രാൻഡ് പാ നമുക്ക് കഴിക്കാം അങ്ങനെ തോന്നാം.
That is right, actually. What you said is right. In the first sentence, we are going to eat grandpa. We are going to eat grandpa. Grandpa-നെ നമ്മൾ ഇന്ന് തിന്നാൻ പോകണം. That is not the intended meaning. ഉദ്ദേശിച്ച അർത്ഥം അതല്ല, പക്ഷെ പറഞ്ഞു വരുമ്പോൾ അങ്ങനെയാവും. Okay, because they have not put the comma, we get the wrong meaning that we are going to eat grandpa. But in the second sentence, when you put a comma, we are actually inviting grandpa to have food with us. So in the first sentence, grandpa becomes the food that you are going to eat. Whereas in the second sentence, we are inviting grandpa to have the food. We are asking him to join us for the food. So this is totally different meaning just because of a punctuation mark. A single comma changes the meaning of a sentence. So that is why in the footnote of that box, you can see that it says correct punctuation can save a person's life. So so this is to show us that, this is to tell us the importance of punctuation. in language. That is the purpose of giving this example, that we should not take punctuation very lightly. We should not think that this is not very important. It is very important. It is as important as the spelling. We said that spelling, grammar are all important. Like spelling and grammar, so much importance also has to be given to punctuation. So that is why such examples are also given there in this book, so that we understand the importance of punctuation. Then the use of question mark. So this is also something that we discussed, that all the sentences cannot end with a full stop. Okay, all the sentences cannot end with a full stop. There are actually 4 types of sentences in English. We have plain sentences, plain statements. Then we have request or commands. Then we have questions. And there is another category of sentences called exclamatory sentences, which indicate sudden feelings. Exclamatory sentences. So only for plain statements and request or commands, we use full stop. For interrogative sentences, or the other 2 types of sentences, that is questions and exclamatory sentences, we use different endings. For questions, we use question mark at the end of the sentence. And for exclamatory sentences, we use an exclamation mark at the end of the sentence. These are the rules for using for ending a sentence. When you end a sentence, you cannot end without any mark. You have to either put a full stop, or a question mark, or an exclamation mark, depending upon the type of sentence that we write. So we have to be aware of what is the kind of sentence that I am writing, and according to that, we have to put these marks. So there is a task for you. You have to find out the commonly used punctuation marks and their uses. Where are commonly used punctuation marks? One is a comma. Okay. Comma. I will type also. Comma. What is the purpose of a comma? What is the purpose of a comma?
comma,
എന്തിനു വേണ്ടിയാണ് കോമ യൂസ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്?
കൂട്ടിച്ചേർക്കുന്നതിന് വേണ്ടിയിട്ട്.
Exactly, to connect, to make a list of things. When you make a list of things, to separate this list, to make it clear that this is a list of separation, can you use commas? അതുകൊണ്ടാണ് നമുക്ക് കമ്പ്യൂട്ടറിലും when you use എക്സലിൽ തന്നെ അങ്ങനെ ഒരെണ്ണമുണ്ട്, കോമ സെപ്പറേറ്റഡ് വാല്യൂസ് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞൊരു ഫയലുണ്ട്, .csv ഫയൽസ് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു. So that these values are separated by commas. So they will be found as separate columns in that file. So comma separated values എന്നാണ് അതിനെ പറയാ. So it is to indicate separation in a sentence. For example, you when you come to college, you have to carry your pens, comma pencils, comma mask, comma sanitizers, comma textbook, and പിന്നെ ലാസ്റ്റ് ഐറ്റം പറയുമ്പോൾ ആൻഡും കൂടെ ആഡ് ചെയ്യും. So it is the most common purpose is to separate values in a list. Okay, so there are many other purposes also. This is the major purpose. And full stop indicates that it is the end of a sentence. And there is something called what is this called? Is this called oru kuttum oru comment? What is it called?
semicolon.
That is right, actually. It is called a semicolon. So a semicolon in Malayalam, it is called Ardha Viramam. That is, it is a stop, but not a full stop. It is a short stop. For example, I can say, I wish to go semicolon after the work. പോണമെന്നുണ്ട് പക്ഷെ വർക്കിന് ശേഷം എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോൾ I have a short break there. I wish to go. Then after the work. Then there is another thing called two dots. What is it called? Yes, Adulya, that is right. It is a colon. It is called a colon. Colon indicates, colon has two major purposes. One is to indicate the beginning of a dialogue. For example, when I say Ramu said and put a colon, whatever happens after that is the speech of Ramu. അതിനുശേഷം പറയുന്നതെല്ലാം രാമുവിന്റെ സ്പീച്ചിനെ കുറിച്ചാണ്. Then that is one purpose, to indicate the beginning of a dialogue. That is one purpose of using a comma. Another purpose is to indicate the beginning of a list. For example, when I say you should bring after bring, if I put a colon, it indicates that these are the things you should bring. To indicate the beginning of a list, we use a colon. Then there are words called inverted commas. Inverted commas indicate certain terms when you want to show certain terms, or dialogue. When somebody speaks, we put within inverted commas to indicate that it is their words. അവരുടെ വാക്കുകളാണെന്നുള്ളത് സൂചിപ്പിക്കാൻ. It is their words as such. We have not made any changes. So there are many such punctuation marks which we very commonly use while writing. And we have to be familiar with all these kinds of punctuation marks. So these are the commonly used punctuation marks and their uses. And this is about the passage that we discussed. Did we use proper linkers? For example, when we begin the sentence, we can use first of all. Such linkers can be used. There are many words or linkers or connectors or discourse markers. ഇതെല്ലാം ഒരേ കാര്യം തന്നെയാണ്. Linkers, connectors, discourse markers, they are all same thing. What is the purpose of using them? The purpose is to make our writing more effective. That is, there is more clarity. So the three elements we have mentioned, simplicity, brevity, and clarity. There is more clarity in our presentation. So linkers are of different kinds. So what are the different kinds of linkers? Can you categorize them? Can you find out which are the different types of linkers that we have here? As well as in addition to, therefore, consequently. ഏതൊക്കെ കാറ്റഗറിയിൽ വരുന്നതാണെന്ന് we have to group them. One example is given there. Adding information is indicated by using as well as. Okay, adding information is using as well as. What about the other things? What about the other words? Telling about the result, giving reason, telling sequence. Sequence means order. പറയുന്ന ക്രമം. ക്രമത്തിനെയാണ് order sequence എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. Sequencing means order. Sequencing is also a term that you are going to use frequently when using computers. Programming use ചെയ്യുന്ന ഒരു term ആണ് sequence. ഈ sequence തെറ്റിയാ program തെറ്റും. Sequence is ordering, giving examples, making comparisons and contrast. So for all these things, we have different terms, different linkers. Can you identify some of them? For example, sequencing in പറ്റുന്ന words ഏതൊക്കെയാണെന്ന് പറയാൻ പറ്റുമോ? Sequencing, telling sequence. സീക്വൻസ് പറയുന്നത്, ഓർഡർ പറയുന്നത് മുകളിൽ ആ ബോക്സിൽ കൊടുത്തിട്ടുള്ളതെന്ന് സെലക്ട് ചെയ്ത് പറഞ്ഞാൽ മതി. You just have to take the words which are given in the box. Which are the words in the box? As well as in addition to എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ ലിസ്റ്റ് ഇല്ലേ? Yes, Adulya. First is there. First, firstly, then. Second. Yes, Ashwini. Second. Next. Yes, Ashwini. After that, etc. Okay, adding information. We will take up one by one. Adding information as well as. Yes, Fatima. Next is the sequencing. Adding information as well as in addition to. As well as in addition to. Telling about the result. Telling about the result.
Result of.
As a result of. Very good, Danya. As a result of. Then consequently. Consequently, as a result of nulla meaning. Giving reason. Giving reason. കാരണം പറയുന്നത്. രണ്ട് മൂന്നെണ്ണം ഉണ്ട് ഗിവിംഗ് റീസൺ. Because ഉണ്ട്. Yes, so many people are typing because. Therefore is there. Yes, Anjana, that's right. Therefore is there. And that is why. That is why is also a good connector for using. Yes, Nandana. That is why is also a good connector for telling about the reason. Okay. Okay, telling sequence we have already said first, firstly, second, after that, then, next, etc. Subsequently, etc. Okay, giving examples. Giving examples. Example പറയുമ്പോൾ.
For example.
For example and for. The last one is also there. For example and. Last
for
word.
instance.
Last one. For instance. For example and for instance, they have the same meaning. They have the same meaning. So they are used for making, showing examples. So they are connecting words used for examples. Yes, Jilsha, Fatima, and Ashwati. Instance, for instance. Yes, Aparna. That is right. Then last one, making comparisons and contrast. When you compare something with another thing, when you compare one system with another system, when you compare one person with another person, when you compare one situation with another situation, when you compare an experience with another experience that you had, when you compare one movie with another movie, what are the words that we use? What are the connecting words that can help us making comparisons and contrasts? But, very good. But, whereas, അതേസമയം എന്ന അർത്ഥത്തിലാണ്. Whereas, however, എങ്കിലും, however and nevertheless, they have the same meaning. However and nevertheless, they have the same meaning. Yes, whereas is correct. And the only difference is that whereas is written as a single word. Whereas. Okay, whereas means അതേസമയം എന്ന അർത്ഥത്തിലാണ്. So, but, however, nevertheless, and whereas, they are four words which we can use for making comparisons and contrast. But means എങ്കിലും, however and nevertheless have same meaning. However and nevertheless have the same meaning. That is എങ്കിലും എന്ന അർത്ഥത്തിൽ തന്നെയാണ്. I want to attend, however I have some other program. എങ്കിലും എന്ന അർത്ഥത്തിൽ. Nevertheless also has the same meaning as however. Whereas എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ അതേസമയം എന്ന അർത്ഥത്തിലാണ്. For example, I can say John is rich, whereas Jacob is poor. So that is a contrasting situation. When you contrast two things, whereas is used. Whereas ഒറ്റ വാക്കായിട്ടാണ് യൂസ് ചെയ്യുക. John is rich, whereas Jacob is poor. So we are comparing two people. So that is an instance where, that is another instance. So these linkers are also helpful. So we have to remember that our writing, when we write, we have to be എന്നിരുന്നാലും എന്ന അർത്ഥം തന്നെയാണ്. However എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാലും എന്നിരുന്നാലും എന്നുള്ള അർത്ഥത്തിലാണ്. So when we write, we have to remember that we have to have these three elements of simplicity, clarity, and brevity. That simplicity is the state of being clear. Clarity is the state of being clear. Simplicity is the state of being simple. Clarity is the state of being clear. Brevity is the state of being brief, short. How can you make it writing simple? By using simple words. How can you make your writing clear? By using correct spelling, correct punctuation, and correct capitalization. How can you make your writing brief? By not making your sentences very large, by writing short sentences instead of long sentences. So these are the skills that we have to develop in writing. So that's it. So we will continue with the next chapter, which is the next core text, and that we will take it up in the next class. This is the last core text in the first module, and after this we conclude the first module. So that's it for today. Thank you for joining. Have a nice day and goodbye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Goodbye.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.